Everybody? Welcome to another great edition of this podcast. That is the hit. I am Logan Graffia, your man, your favorite podcaster. Along with me is my fantastic and fabulous co-host, the great Calvin Rons. And we're going to get just right into it, Calvin. College football. I'm going to go over some scores that happened in Louisiana over this past weekend. LSU lost to Tennessee 40-13. Tulane won 24-9 over Eastern Carolina. And ULM Monroe Warhawks lost to Coastal Carolina 28-21. Calvin's La Tech Bulldogs beat UTEP 41-31. And sadly, my Southeastern Lions lost on homecoming to Texas A&M Commerce 31-28. And now here is Calvin with his quick overview of the top 25. Take it away, Calvin.
Well, as y'all heard first, Tennessee stomped LSU. Um, that's fun. Shout out to Brian Kelly right here, everybody. If y'all didn't peep that. Um, Michigan, they retained number four, most likely. It might move up, beating Indiana, but it's Indiana, so TCU and Kansas, that was a good game. 17-19 going at it. Real close game. Very happy with the result. TCU pulls it out. Oklahoma State wins, Georgia wins, Ole Miss wins, Ohio State wins. Arizona State with the upset over Washington. Clemson beats Boston College, but I mean, we know that that's going to be the case always. USC is still at 6. Notre Dame upsets BYU. And Alabama, of course, stays at number 1.
Well, Calvin, I think last I checked, I don't know if it was just someone's mock or something, but I think Alabama might have dropped to 3. I am not entirely sure yet if the new AP poll has come out yet, but I think Alabama might be 3. And a someone that just snuck into the top 25 who I'm very familiar with from the FCS days is James Madison. They are now ranked 25th, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Georgia is now number 1, Ohio State 2, and Alabama 3. So that was the quick overview of the top 25. I want to touch on LSU first. This past weekend was definitely an eye opener for Brian Kelly and the LSU Tigers. Want to just say this: there's a lot of people that like to point blame. There's a lot of people that just like to sit in the stands, so to speak, and I call them everyone calls them the couch quarterbacks or the couch players or couch coaches, and they have a lot of people out there that have said, "Oh yeah, you're not at the games, bro. You're not at the games, bro. You don't see what I see." Well, I mean, with today's technology, I probably can see everything that you see and probably even more. I got every different camera angle out there. From what I am seeing, everyone is pointing one finger at Jaden Daniels. And it is not all Jaden Daniels' fault. I'm watching the film and I'm hearing from people that most of the time these wide receivers aren't getting really good separation because they're running vanilla routes. And Mike Denbrock might have to switch it up because what worked at Cincinnati with Desmond Ritter in that conference is not going to work in the SEC. Now, it might have. We already beat an SEC team in Mississippi State, who was quite good, by the way. We can both agree on that. But we can't just point finger at Jaden Daniels. That's not. He is not the problem. I mean, he has one interception throughout the whole year, and that one interception, in my eyes, the player looked to be out of bounds anyway because it was in the corner end zone at the end of the Tennessee game. But Jay Daniels has one interception compared to most quarterbacks that right now have probably at least 4 or 5. Him and Hendon Hooker was in the same conversation before the game of one of some of the. There was a list of quarterbacks who didn't throw an interception, and Jane Daniels and Hendon Hooker was on that list. It was a very small list, but defense looked bad. I mean, defense kind of kept us in the game, but you go back on film, the safeties. I can't remember who the commentators were, Calvin, but one of them pointed out, look how wide the safeties are. They're so wide that they're even wider than the hash marks, and you can't do that. And I get Tennessee plays fast and they have wide splits with the receivers, but Matt House should have adjusted, and I don't think he did it this game. but you're also playing against Tennessee, who has the number one offense, and Tennessee looks to be, in my opinion, a sleeper for going to the national championship. And I don't know if you were able to catch some glimpses of the LSU game, but I want to get your take on, do you think this might have been a wake up call for Brian Kelly to maybe, like, make some changes with his offensive scheme? And follow that up with, do you really think the full blame should be on Jaden Daniels?
Um, I don't necessarily think this is a wake up call. I think this is more of a realization. Um, this LSU team is not, in my opinion, going to be able to compete with top 10 teams. You guys were riding kind of high. You guys lost the first one. You snapped off a 3 game win streak um, against a couple of weaker teams, admittedly, but winning is still hard to do in college football. You know, anybody can get beat any given Saturday. But I think that this definitely showed that when you play Alabama, it's going to be a tough road, a lot tougher than it usually is. Um, I mean, props to Brian Kelly. I mean, he's a good coach, and this is going to be a down year for you guys. Not even necessarily a down year. This is going to be a year that you guys aren't really expecting. Like I said, it's not really fair to say it's a down year because I mean y'all still going to have a positive record. Y'all still going to go to a bowl game. Um, but it's going to be tougher. Like all of your games are going to be 4 quarter games from here on out. And this Tennessee game showed them that you guys aren't just going to come in here and just roll over these teams like y'all used to do. So it's more of a realization, not really a wake up call. No need to sound any alarms. But as far as Jaden Daniel goes, no, it's not on Jaden Daniels. Really, there's someone who people should be getting on. That's Kayshawn Butte, um, or Booty. I think he said that's how it's pronounced. The dude has what 100 something yards on the season in what 5 6 games, and he's supposed to go in the first round in the draft. I mean, that's not okay. And I mean, the guy's kind of looking like Deontay Hardy out there was saying. He's like just quiet quitting. I mean, worried about something in the future. Deontay Hardy's worried about his contract, and this guy's worried about getting drafted. And he's not doing what he's supposed to do. And in the long run, he might end up screwing himself because he's not playing to the best of his ability. And I don't put that on Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is a hell of a runner. He is. I would just need to see more of Jaden Daniels as a passer. Um, I think that that's a fair assessment to say. I'm not gonna put it on all on Jane Daniels. Um, I'm never really one to put in a team loss entirely on the QB, but Jane does have to be more impactful. Let me say he should be more impactful in the passing game because you can have a 75% completion percentage, high QBR, but if you're only throwing for 80, 100, 120 yards a game with one TD, I mean, are you really that impactful? You're not. You're just game managing at best. And that's not what LSU needs. They don't need a game manager. They need someone who's going to go out there and throw the football and win you some games. And I don't think Jane Daniels is going to go out there and win you some games in the traditional sense. But I mean, I'm not going to put this all on Jane Daniels.
I can agree with that. And I also would just like people, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that, I've already said this, they really just want to put it all on Jaden Daniels. And I'm watching the game, I'm like, who? I'm just so baffled because Will Campbell, our true freshman starting left tackle, didn't play. Dellinger, our starting left guard, had to get taken out the game from an injury, and the offensive line was just struggling against Tennessee's front seven. And you can see that Jaden was having so much trouble against Tennessee. I want to say he was sacked about 5 or 6 times, and he had nowhere to go. Like, as soon as the ball was snapped, he was eating grass, plain and simple. And you can't expect him to just throw the ball when he's got 8 guys coming at him. I'd rather him take the sack instead of throwing it up for grabs. But as far as Kayshawn goes, they are. I feel like most teams are trying to double Kayshawn, and that's why you're seeing someone like Malik Neighbors benefiting from it because Jaden's going. That trust is building between Jaden and Malik Neighbors. We're seeing that. That's Jaden's go-to guy now because Jaden goes to him, he's gonna catch it. Nine times out of 10. Now, Kayshawn kind of was slighted over the weekend because there was a potential score that we could have had, and we went for the fourth down. Kayshawn stretched the ball out. You and I both know it's about where the ball is, Calvin, not where the player is. Kayshawn stretched it out for that first down, and they didn't give it to him. Still a controversial call, but I think LSU can right this ship. I'm not saying we're going to the championship whatsoever this year. I came in the year thinking, 10 wins, 10-win season. That's 9 wins plus a bowl game. That's 10. I'm fine with that. I'm not expecting a title this year. And I'm also expecting, Kayshawn's probably going to leave and go to the draft. That's fine. But I'm expecting everyone to come back for like one more run. And I think we're going to see next year is the year that LSU kind of blows up and we see someone like Jaden Daniels, progress in a sense because he's never really had a coach probably to coach him through progression since probably high school. He's got one of the best in the business who you're familiar with in Joe Sloan as quarterback coach. So I think LSU can right the ship. But let's talk about another team, Calvin, which is definitely surprising people this year in college football. The Tulane Green Wave are 5-1, Calvin. Tulane. Tulane. It's unbelievable. I mean, I gotta get your opinion. Did you? I know I didn't expect Tulane to look this good. I'm always thinking they're gonna go, 500 every year, but 5-1, Calvin. They should be in the top 25. And I'm over here sounding like Jerry Seinfeld for some reason. I'm sorry, but Calvin, I gotta get your opinion on the Tulane Green Wave this year.
Ah man, I fully expected this. I mean, I'm not surprised in the slightest, really. I mean, last year they started like even last year, like they've had some really good games. They beat some really good teams last year to kind of show you, like, hey guys, like, hey, next year y'all better look out. Um, it's kind of like UCF back in like 2016, and then 2017, they went undefeated. In 2016, they showed you, hey, we're gonna fight with the best of these teams, and sometimes we're gonna beat them. And that's what you're seeing out of Tulane. You're seeing the return of Tulane football, which I'm really happy about. Their social media team, I love their social media team. Um, of course, they got my guy Kurt Hester there, who was my strength coach for 4 years up here at Tech. He goes there. That's where he's from. That's home for him. So I know he's happy down there. When you're happy doing something, you put more effort into it. So I know he got those guys right down there, and you can see it.
Hmm.
Obviously. So yeah, man, I'm not surprised at all about Tulane.
Well, before we move on to the Saints, I want to say not only did he train you, Calvin, but he trained me in high school too. And I honestly wish I had that conditioning from my days of Slato High from Kurt Hester's training. But let's move on to some Saints, Calvin. They squeaked one out this Sunday, Calvin, and gotta say, I was scared at first because I'm thinking, okay, because Geno looked absolutely. I gotta give credit to Geno Smith. He looks like how he did at West Virginia right now.
Drug test him right now because something's not right. that,
he
man,
looks. He
that
looks
man
how
looks good.
he looks how he did at West Virginia, and I guess I gotta credit Shane Waldron, their offensive coordinator, because I mean I absolutely love Shane Waldron. He came over from the Rams, probably running about the same concepts there for Geno Smith, or doing whatever makes him comfortable, and we're seeing it. But going back to the Saints, you gotta just say this: this was a Taysom Hill game. He did it all, Calvin. What was it? 3 rushing touchdowns, one passing. If I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
one passing touchdown, three rushing touchdowns, 112 yards rushing, 22 yards passing. He had a fumble recovery, I believe he had.
Yes.
Um, he
Kick
had
returning.
a yeah, he had about 30 yards on a kick return. He did fumble, but he got it back.
He did.
So and he also had a beautiful block to go in there for an end zone score. So the man does it all, man.
I'm very happy that because this time last year, a lot of people were off Taysom Hill train. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, cut Taysom Hill. When Sean Payton needs to cut him, stop this. Da 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 da. The Taysom Hill experiment needs to stop." And so far, I think people are getting back on the train, Calvin, and that makes me happy. I was just sitting back being quiet. I'm like, well, one of these games is going to be the Taysom Hill game, and it looks like the Seattle Seahawks game was the Taysom Hill game. I mean, Calvin, we scored over 20 points in a game.
We scored 39,
Yeah,
almost
we
40,
almost 40, Calvin. I
almost
can't
40
believe it.
points.
considering how we looked in week one, we had the score in one quarter against the Falcons, who, of course, are still the Falcons. That's why they blow the lead, and that's why we won. Then you got those other weeks where we didn't even score over 20 points. Enters Andy Dalton and for an injured Jameis Winston. We go over the pond to play Minnesota, and we score over 20 points. And it didn't take us until the fourth quarter to score a touchdown. So fast forward to this Sunday, we scored 39 points, Calvin. The offense on with Taysom Hill. Actually, this was just a Taysom Hill game. It looked really good. Alvin Kamara came back and he had over 100 yards rushing, and he had what close to 100 yards receiving too, if I'm not mistaken, Calvin. You could
91.
91. He almost had a 100 game. I mean, that's like Roger Craig stuff right there. And it was so good to see Kamara back. And I'm at a point, Calvin. I mean, I love Andy Dalton. I mean, he manages the game well. He doesn't that interception that he threw to Traquan. I'm not going to put that all on him because you and I have discussed this. Traquan didn't even look like he tried at all. Traquan can go. I'm sick of him, by the way. I'm sure we all are, but manages the game well. He doesn't really turn the ball over. He won't win you games, but he won't lose you games, and that's what I'm fine with. But keep Andy Dalton out there. I'm not saying that because Andy Dalton played fantastic Sunday. I'm saying this because he won't lose you the game. He really won't lose you the game. And now if we're going back to Minnesota, he almost won us the game. He got us in field goal range to go into overtime. So I would say keep Andy Dalton in until the wheels fall off this year. But it's either that or let's bring out the Army offense, Calvin. Taysom Hill at quarterback, Kamara at running back. Let's bring in J.P. Holtz at the fullback. Let's get nuts. Let's get freaking nuts here, Calvin. I mean, I gotta get your opinion on the offense right now.
Well, see, I'm a realist about Taysom. Yes, it's the Taysom Hill game, but the reason why Taysom Hill works so well is because he's not a full time quarterback. That's why it works. He gives you so many different looks. If we just have him out there starting at QB, then I mean we're gonna get what we had last year, where it's kind of like, all right, he's gonna throw some picks, maybe he's gonna fumble, whatever. So we used the perfect amount of Taysom this game. That was perfect. We don't need to have more Taysom. You don't need to have less Taysom. Like this is fine, especially right now where we got a lot of playmakers out. And I mean, talk about a hard nosed win. I mean, you going against a really prolific offense right now. Seahawks are kind of hot. Geno's looking absolutely unreal right now. I mean, damn near MVP caliber, if I must say, for being honest. Like the throws that man was making, I mean, he fit in the ball in between three defenders to Tyler Lockett. Absolutely beautiful breadbasket throw. He did across his body on the run throw that was on the money in double coverage. I mean, good God. But talk about a win, man, because we were down Michael Thomas. We were down Chris Olave after about the first or second quarter. We're down Jarvis Landry. We lose Marshawn Lattimore in the game. Deontay Hardy goes down. I mean, this is a disaster of a game. This is
Just like
going
last year.
disastrous. Yes, it's going disastrous, and I'm just proud of the team for squeaking this one because this one was much needed. I mean, we're in the dome. The dome hasn't been too good for us lately. I'm pretty sure we've lost about 80-90% of the last games we've been in the dome. So this was definitely needed for momentum. And, I hope everybody gets back healthy. And let me just say, this game felt like true 7-9 Saints of 2015 and 2016 and 2014. A game where it was all offense and the defense was not giving you what you needed, and a game where at some points we could have went up by 2 to 3 scores, but just didn't. Um, I mean, we did open the back door a little bit. I gotta say, the offense. Like, look, we scored 39. I should be happy about that. But there's some times I'm like, hey, let's go double up on these touchdowns. Let's go back to back with these touchdowns. Let's not have a touchdown, get a turnover on defense, and then go 3-and-out. Like, let's not do that. Let's not waste this. And you see that too many times with this team. But man, talk about part of the team. Um, Paulson Adebo, we definitely have a conversation about him because I don't know what the hell this performance was about, but he looked like Eli Apple mixed with Brandon Browner, and I do not
Oof.
want that. I do not want that for him moving forward. Um, Marcus Davenport was pretty impactful. Cam Jordan had a Cam Jordan game, which I am happy about that he's finally waking up. Seems like last year did the same thing. He didn't wake up probably until about the fifth, sixth game of the season, and here we are again. Um, DB play, I'm extremely worried about at the moment. That's probably my biggest worry right now. The linebacking core is great. Caden Ellis is doing better than I thought he would. Pete Werner is like leading the league in tackles. He's an absolute menace. He looks like an axe murderer, which is exactly what I want out of my white linebacker. That's what I want. Um, the D line is playing better. Um, but outside of Marshawn, I mean, goodness, Honey Badger doesn't look good. Marcus May, he seems like he's AD now, just street clothes. He's just either in jail or hurt, and I need him to
Jeez.
do something on this team. So it's gonna be interesting next week. I believe we play the Bengals next week.
Oh yeah, it's a
Uh,
big one. Joe
that's a
Burrow's coming back to
game.
town.
That's a game I'm 100% gonna have to see. That game should be prime time. If it's not, then the NFL did wrong.
Well, it's not
Who
prime
dat?
time.
Who dat versus who day? Which I hate who day. By the way, just everybody they can say something like "Go Chili" or something because that's what they're known for up there. Um, but man, I'm just proud of this team. I am for getting that win. That's a old school Saints win right there. Not too much heartache, not too much blood pressure rising this game. I must say, like I'm happy with the results. Um, Also, real quick, Dennis Allen and the 2 point attempts have been absolutely fantastic this year. I haven't seen this many 2 point attempts go right for us like ever. Sean Payton would always miss out on his 2 point attempts, but Dennis Allen seems to have that down. But proud of this team. Andy Dalton is the game manager right now. Um, I'm not going to say you were right about Jameis yet. I'm holding out for when he gets healthy,
Oh
and
no,
then
this
give
is
him
what I
two
want to
games.
ask you. This is what I want to ask you. I don't mean to cut you off. I want to ask you this. If you were Dennis Allen and you're looking at this offense right now, how it's more efficient these last two games, even though the Minnesota game was a loss and we squeaked one out against Seattle, do you play Andy Dalton against the Bengals this Sunday?
If be honest with you, right? So if Jameis is completely healthy, which I doubt he will be, but let's just say for the sake of argument, he's completely healthy. I would throw Jameis out there, and I would give Jameis 2 games. And if Jameis does not put up either more than 25, or if he doesn't win in a convincing way, or if he doesn't have like these Andy Dalton games where he's managing, just have a game. If he doesn't have games where the offense looks good, where it looks rough, looks patchy, I need the offense to look smooth like it did his first game starting against Green Bay last year. That's if it doesn't look like that, or at least close to it, or like the offense we have right now these last 2 games. Well, this game because we actually won it. Um, and I'm gonna have to tell him like, hey man, sorry that this didn't work out, but you know, going in another direction. Um, I mean, just shout out to Andy Dalton. But I mean, everybody got to realize Andy Dalton ain't the end all be all right now because he did have a 49 QBR, 16 for 24, 187 yards, one TD, one interception. I mean, that's game managing to the game management's fullest. Um, so I'm not completely comfortable with him back there still because he's he's not really doing anything fantastic right now, which is fine. Um, but he's not going to go out there and throw 300 and something yards with 4 TDs. Um, but I go with Jameis if he's healthy, but only for a couple more games because there's no more excuses if he comes back completely healthy. There's no more. The offensive line picked up their play. We're going to have, assumingly, Jarvis, Olave, and Michael Thomas ready for him, ready to go, completely healthy when he comes back. And if he can't, and Alvin Kamara will be healthy too. And if he can't figure it out there, then and hey, Trevor Penning, he's going to be coming back soon too. So can't figure it out when you have everybody there, then might have to just move on, man.
Well, I mean, if you would ask me who would I throw out there, I mean, I think you know my answer, and a lot of people are going to say it's for hating purposes, but not worried about those people anymore. They don't know what they're talking about. I throw Andy Dalton out there, man. Let's think
If
about this.
James if James is not healthy, yes, 100% throw Andy Dalton out there. If he's even 95% healthy, put Andy Dalton out there. I need him 100% for him to come back out there.
That back injury, from what I've heard, is a 6 to 12 week injury, and it's the same thing that Tony Romo had. And Tony Romo only played one game that year. He had the back injury, and that was the year Dak took over. I mean, let's be honest. A back ain't nothing to play with, but we know how these Twitter doctors are. They know everything. They know more than you and I, Calvin. They know more than the doctors that we talk to. But anyway, um, you ask me, I'd put Andy Dalton out there. I'm saying Andy Dalton's the. I'm not saying Andy should be the star for the rest of the year, but I'm not say it's gonna sit here and say, oh, Andy Dalton's the savior, because he's not. I'm just saying, you know what? This year, let Andy Dalton roll, and if we even just squeak out 7 wins with Andy Dalton as quarterback, even 8, that's a successful season. But I'm not convinced that Jameis should even go back out there. I mean, he had one quarter this year that he looked good, and after that, it's been downhill. Here's the difference that I've been seeing on film. People don't really break down film like you and I. You and I are former players, and we break down film differently, and we see things differently. So here's what I'm gonna say. On film, you can see Andy Dalton getting the ball out quicker. He's getting it out like in one, two, 2.5, sometimes 3. Jameis is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, throw. He's not getting the ball out quick enough, and that's why Jameis has been sacked so damn much. Andy Dalton, 1, 2, get it out. Even if it's just a Camaro on the swing or on a Texas route, check downs. Drew killed people with that. We used to kill teams with just the check downs. I'm fine with that. Andy Dalton goes through his progressions quicker than Jameis. Now, what does Jameis do better than Andy Dalton? Okay, he's got the deep ball. Great. Accuracy goes to Andy Dalton. Who's more mobile? Probably Jameis when he's healthy, but he still looks like a clumsy little oaf out there running the ball. But it looks like Andy can still run. I mean, he ran a little bit yesterday, but he's not like, Lamar Jackson or Michael Vick or anything. But we've seen a game manager do quite well for us, Calvin, when Drew went down, when Teddy Bridgewater came in and he went 5-0. Teddy didn't go out there and throw 300 yards a game. He didn't. He managed the game and we won. And that's all we can ask for Andy. I'd rather a game manager who takes care of the ball and who won't lose you games. Now, he might not win you the game, but he will put his team in position to win, but not also, he won't put his team in position to lose either. So I'd roll with Andy Dalton this weekend. But since we brought up Cam Jordan, I want to just say this before we move on to a very happy topic. Cam Jordan is 5 sacks away from tying my favorite player of all time's record, Ricky Jackson's franchise sack record. Now, Ricky did it in a short amount of time because we know how great the Dome Patrol was, Calvin. But Cam Jordan's about to break the franchise sack record if he's lucky this year, and that's fantastic. I didn't want Ricky's record to be broken, but honestly, if anyone's going to do it, I'm happy that Cam is. I want to get just your quick takeaway on if you think Cam will break that in these next games coming up.
He should. He's Cameron Jordan. I mean, um, if you're gonna sit here and look at me in the eye and then say, "Oh, well, Cam Jordan for how many games we have left? 8, 9, 10, 7, like 11,
Something
however
like
many we
that.
got left." Yeah, like if you're gonna look at me in the eyes and say Cam Jordan only needs 5 sacks and let's just say 10, 11, 12 games, then I will look you in the eye and say, if he doesn't get 5 sacks in that amount of time, we have a problem because that's not like Cam Jordan. So, barring Peyton Turner, which I doubt, or Marcus Davenport stealing any sacks, which, like I said, I doubt Peyton Turner will do that. Um, I ain't still mad that we chose him over my boy Milton Williams, man. That's just tragic. I mean, those two worked out together, so I should know. But um, yeah, man, he should. And also, I just want to point out for everybody, Deontay Hardy will probably miss the rest of the season. So what? Seems like he was doing that anyway. Um, Kirk Merritt and Rashid
Rashid
Shaheed
Shaheed.
should show up now, which I'm happy about. I believe those two should have been on this team over Traquan and Deontay anyway. Um, so happy to see they're going to get their opportunity. And also shout out, thank goodness Pete Carmichael decided, man, that number 41 guy that we got, he's pretty good when you pass him the ball. So let's try passing him the ball. It only took Chris Olave, Jarvis Landry, and Michael Thomas to go down for him to realize that. But better late than never, I say. So hopefully, hopefully we continue to do that with the additions of Olave, Jarvis, and Mike Thomas. There's also something else I need to monitor. Odell meeting with the Saints. I don't know when that's happening. I don't know if it already happened, but hey, I'm cool if Odell wants to come and fake us out again, give us hope again.
That
Um,
ain't happening.
yeah, but the more the merrier is what I say. I mean, hey, like I said, give Jameis and Andy as much help as you possibly can. If that means an injured Odell, I'm fine with that. But just thank you, Pete Carmichael, for realizing that Alvin Kamara exists, and this is a vintage Alvin Kamara game, which he should have for the rest of the season.
What's with a quarterback like Andy, I think Alvin's going to get more touches in the passing game, which I'm happy with. And a lot of people don't understand. Jameis wasn't seeing Kamara in the passing game at all. There would be times Kamara's wide open, waving his hands, and Jameis is forcing it in the triple coverage. But anyway, we're going to move on to another
Oh,
topic.
hold on, one more thing too.
Oh
Mark
snap!
Mark Ingram reps are a waste of time at
Yes,
this
I
point.
agree.
1.8 yards per carry is like if you want 1.8 yards per carry in the NFL at running back, I'll do it for you for half the price.
I could
So
probably do that too. Shoot, but let's get into some very, very good stuff here, Calvin. That is the New Orleans Pelicans. We love us some Pelicans, and oh my God, Calvin. 3-0 in the preseason. I know it's just preseason, but the sample size that we've gotten, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, Calvin. We look so good. We've never really said this about a Pelicans team before, or even a New Orleans basketball team before, since probably the CP3 days. I mean, we might have said it briefly with the AD Boogie duo, but that was only a small portion. But this team might break the franchise win record very soon. I mean, we saw in game one, CJ look in midseason form. Brandon Ingram hasn't played yet. Zion, he's flying around out there. He struggled this past game, but then he got it going. He got it going against the Spurs yesterday, or whenever you watch this, it happened yesterday from when we recorded this. But man, I'm excited, Calvin. I mean, this team looks very, very deep. And if I got to credit anybody during this preseason so far, it's Jose Alvarado. Jose. Because the game I went and worked the Pelicans Pistons game. And Jose went off. He was 2 points away from having 30. I mean, I don't even know if I could put into words how excited I am for this Pelican season. And if you ask me right now, this a lineup of CJ, Bi, Herb, Zion, Jonas Valanciunas. That's starting five right there. That's a top four team in the West. And if you look at the bench, you got Jose, you got Trey, you got Willie Hernan Gomez, you got Dyson Daniels, you got Jackson who's going to be coming off of an injury. You got so much more. I mean, I let
Lewis be coming off injury as well.
Kira. I don't know if Kira Lewis is going to be coming back. I mean, they might trade him. I don't know, but we got a lot, Galvin. We're like 15 deep. Okay, let's say 14 because I don't count Garrett Temple. That's a coach. Don't put him in, please. Calvin, before we go, I want to get your opinion on your expectations for the Pelicans going into this season.
If we don't win 82 games this year, we are failing. No, but for yeah, man, 50 wins at least. Like that's uh, seeing what I've seen. Yes, it's preseason, but also in preseason, you're going against starters for at least the first two quarters. So our starters are against these other team stars. We played the Bulls, we played the Pistons, we played Spurs. We have gotten their best lineups versus our best lineups, and each time we have outscored them in about every single quarter that those starters are in, and that is extreme. Like we're blowing teams out easily. And people will say, "Oh, well, it's preseason; they're not really trying." If the other team ain't really trying, we're not really trying either, and that's what makes it even better. Because if we're not really trying, imagine if we are trying. And big shout out to everybody on the team. I can tell that I haven't seen a team this bought into the system, into the culture, and to the team itself as everyone on this team. Everyone seems like they went in the offseason, and I don't have questions about anyone this year saying, "What the hell were you doing in the offseason?" Because you don't look any better. Devonte Graham, credit where credit is due. His shooting looks like it has improved. He looks like he has a better basketball IQ. It looks like he wants to be more active on the defensive end. He is pump faking people, driving and passing to the open man. I mean, I did not see that from Devonte Graham last year. I see a dude who's gonna pull it. So he's showing me a better shot IQ. He's taking shots from different places around the floor. Jose worked out with Tony Parker in the offseason. I mean, what better point guard to work out with than Tony Parker? I mean, that's
I gotta,
amazing.
I gotta
Willie
agree
Hernan
with that.
Gomez, exactly. Willie Hernan Gomez, he wins Euro League MVP. I mean, come on now. Herb Jones and Brandon Ingram are locked in the gym, and they probably ain't see sunlight all year, all offseason. Trey Murphy, we've seen the videos. The man was locked in. Everybody's locked in. Zion looks amazing. He slimmed down. He looks faster. He does look faster. He looks quicker. He looks stronger. The guys that he's been working on his shooting, his passing, and he's back defensively. We see kind of like a Duke Zion defensively. Like he's trying to swat everything. And I love seeing that. This team is giving me a lot of hope, man, because they they've worked hard all offseason. I see the improvement. And we're doing this without Brandon Ingram, everybody. And we did it last night without CJ and Brandon Ingram. I
The
mean,
past two games were out without CJ and Brandon Ingram. It's crazy. It's just been basically Zion without CJ and Bi. It's outstanding what I'm seeing, Calvin, and the ball movement. We haven't even
the
talked about the
ball
ball
movement. The
movement.
ball movement is fantastic. Zion had 5 assists. If you have Zion give you 5 assists a game, I mean the team is not the team's not going to lose. Jonas is popping threes again. Like everything is just work. It just seems like everybody is open and everybody is knocking down shots.
This
I
is what
mean,
I'm telling people, Calvin. Zion could be driving to the goal. You got three people on him. Either Bi or CJ is going to be open. Heck, if you got Trey Murphy and Devontae Graham out there, they're going to be open. Someone's going to be
Herb
open.
is hitting corner
Herb,
threes now.
Herb is hitting threes now. I mean, Zion's even hitting threes. We saw him hit one yesterday. This team looks dangerous, Calvin. They look ready to go, and I think Willie's got these guys ready to go. Everyone looks so bought in. We, you have to go back to that 2007, 2008 New Orleans Hornets team. Like that has to be the last team I think that looked to be this bought in to not only the city but to just the team in general. Man, they look so bought in. Willie's been in New Orleans before, so he knows if you love this city, it will love you back.
He was
That's how
there during that time too. He was there.
he was there during the 2010, 2011 team, if I'm not mistaken. He was here when Chris Paul was here. That's crazy. That's how long ago it was. But I'm going to give a hot take. And the franchise win record is 56. I'm going to sit here and say I think this team can win 57. They could either tie the record or I think they could break it, Calvin. They're out there with the ball. I know it's just preseason, but it's different in NBA preseason than it is NFL preseason.
What you see
Everyone's
is what
playing
you're
their
gonna get.
starters. uh, Everyone's playing their starters for like 90% of the game. I mean, during the Pistons game, Sadiq Bey was still playing in the fourth quarter with like 50 seconds to go. It's different. It's not vanilla like everyone's thinking. It's basketball, y'all. The ball moving. They're out there doing the
You
ball
gotta
moving
make
like
your shots at the end of the day.
right.
That's ain't no faking that.
The ball movement right now looks like the damn Harlem Globetrotters. Maybe not so much with the fancies behind the backs and stuff, but the ball movement is incredible. I'm excited, Calvin.
Man,
I'm
let me
very,
let me
very
just
excited.
say too, man. I Dyson Daniels might be the most impactful rookie this season because yes, his shooting has not been there. This I don't think he's made a three. Maybe he's made one. I know
I
he was
think
like
he's made
oh
a
for
couple.
yeah, he was like I don't know like what like 0 for 6 in the Pistons game, something like that. But talk about active. I mean, this is what I me and my dad we've talked about before that these were the type of players that we were missing on the Pelicans. You have guys who want to say they can shoot. right? They say, oh, I'm a shooter. They come in, they miss a couple shots, and then they're just net negatives from there on out. They're not impacting anything defensively because they're focusing purely on just trying to shoot. And when they're missing, they don't want to do anything else but try to get out the slump. So defensively, now they're a liability. Dyson Daniels is missing his shot. And you know what he's saying? Well, screw it. Let's go play some defense.
I
And
like that.
he got like 5 steals against the Pistons. I mean, that's unreal. That's unreal as a rookie. Those type of defensive instincts is Herb Jones level stuff. And the guy plays at his own pace. If y'all have ever played against anybody in the rec, y'all know the hardest point guards to guard are the ones that play at their own pace. And the man got vision out of this world. I mean, the passes that he's making, the guy is going to be something special.
I think I know my comparison's probably a little lackluster right now, but I think I told you this comparison already. I think he's going to be a better version of Lonzo, and that's actually a compliment because I loved Lonzo when he was here. I think Dyson Daniels is going to be what Lonzo was supposed to be. That's what I think. He's already looking good on defense, so can't defense wins you games. Don't sit down and pout when if the ball ain't falling in. Play defense, and that's what he's doing. He's looking pretty darn good in the preseason so far. And we are at the wrap up point, Calvin. Do you have anything to add from any topic that we discussed at all? Anything that you want to add?
Um, Traquan should be working at Popeyes by next week, along with Deontay Hardy. The Pels will go undefeated this year. Zion's winning MVP. And don't worry, the Saints are still winning the Super Bowl on top of that. So that's what I got today, man.
Well, some of those I agree with, and then there's others that I question if you're awake right now. But this is what my wrap. This is I'm going to end my wrap up. Jaden Daniels is fine. He's not the one to blame. Andy Dalton should be the quarterback the rest of the year for the Saints. Pelicans are going to be a 4 seed in the West and get to the Western Conference Finals and surprise people. And I think Zion is going to be most improved player or comeback player of the year. And that is where I'm going to end it off, ladies and gentlemen. This has been another great edition of The Hit. I am Logan Graffia. He is Calvin Rons. We shall see you next time.